Today's Focus Report takes us to Mexico. Before the Spanish conquest of the 16th century, experts say that around 500 indigenous languages were being spoken up and down the country. But thanks to years of colonialism, they've all slowly disappeared over time. Hundreds of people from these communities who don't speak Spanish say they've been mistreated by authorities and often put behind bars for crimes that they didn't commit. Our team has been to find out more.
A court hearing in the state of Oaxaca. This man can't make sense of the legal words everyone around him is using.
Señor Carlos Ignacio, le pregunto usted, ¿habla alguna lengua indígena? Sí.
What are the charges against him? Who's accusing him? In many court cases, indigenous people find themselves totally unable to understand what's happening at their own hearings. This is Juquila prison. Marcelino, a young Mixtec man, invites us into his cell.
This is my schoolwork. We've been studying geometry and Spanish. All the time I've been here, I've been learning Spanish, but there are still words I can't pronounce properly.
Marcelino could barely understand Spanish when he was arrested in May of 2009 as he walked to a farm where he was working. A few minutes beforehand, a man was shot dead in a neighbourhood nearby. Police officers handcuffed Marcelino without any explanation and took him to a police station where he says he was tortured for hours.
While they were beating me, the police kept saying, "You bastard, if you give us 60,000 pesos, we'll act like nothing happened. You'll be free to go."
60,000 pesos, around 3,000 euros, an impossible sum for most indigenous Mexicans who are marginalized from society.
I was terrified from the beatings. I didn't know what to do. I said yes to everything. Yes.
The police handed him a paper, a false confession clearly written in a hurry.
They said, "Sign this quick." They didn't give me time to look at it. I couldn't read it. I didn't know how to read back then. I have lots of friends here who were detained and didn't speak Spanish. They didn't even have an interpreter, like me. I didn't have an interpreter at the hearings or when they took me to the judge. Not even a lawyer. Nothing.
Welcome to Oaxaca, a vibrant state where 32% of the population speak an indigenous language: Triqui, Mixtec, Zapotec, Chatino. From a base in the capital, NGO Sepiadet is trying to tackle the serious lack of interpreters in the region.
Most of the people working here speak an indigenous language. Between all of us, we speak about 120 languages out of the 176 pre-Columbian language variants.
Gerardo is a lawyer with Sepiadet. He recently took over Marcelino's appeal. After seeing all the irregularities in the case files, he's optimistic about getting the charges dismissed.
Marcelino told the agents he couldn't read or write, but they prepared a written confession anyway. And at the end of it, they wrote that he had read it, accepted it, and was signing it.
Torture and extortion are still widespread in Mexican police stations.
The torture happens to get a signed confession from the indigenous person to make them look guilty of a crime. It's all set up to make him seem guilty, and there you go, case closed. But they are often just scapegoats.
Legally, an interpreter has to be present at a hearing. And while that rule has been getting more traction, there are still some real shortcomings. The big one is that interpreters are rarely paid. Gerardo Carmona is a judge and supports the system.
We all know that the state of Oaxaca doesn't have the budget to pay for interpreters. Our budget is allocated by the federal state. Some interpreters have a vocation to help with justice in this way. They care. And in their worldview, it's a calling, not a job, a way to help their community. And they do it for free.
The state invites volunteer interpreters to help at hearings as if it were a hobby. But Francesca doesn't see things that way. She's been doing this work for 20 years, and keeps going out of the love for families affected. But sometimes she has to wait 6 months just to get her travel costs reimbursed.
Sometimes they send me to hearings in the town of Oaxaca. That's almost 12 hours by bus. And when I get to the hearing, the accuser's aren't there, or the lawyer hasn't shown up, so it's all cancelled. So we feel like it's not taken seriously.
The struggle for justice is hard without money. Marcelino's family knows this only too well. His mother and sister scraped by in extreme poverty. They felt helpless when Marcelino was sentenced to 30 years in prison after a simple and hurried hearing.
My mother sold a plot of land my brother had in order to pay for a lawyer. But the lawyer just took the money and disappeared. 20,000 pesos. That was all we had, that bit of land.
Edith and Teodora haven't seen Marcelino in over 8 years. Several hours away, he's staying focused, preparing to be free again someday.
I do have hope that I'll get out and integrate society. I want to use everything I've learned in here. I feel fine because I didn't do anything wrong, and there are people supporting me and believing me.
For the last 2 years, a new penal code has been making it easier to get interpreters at hearings. That's something to give hope to the countless indigenous people who found themselves fighting a justice system that doesn't speak their language.